Oh boy, disclaimer.
Welcome one and all to Simpsons Treehouse of Horror Countdown Review. Continue watching, if you dare. The intro for this installment is weird. It has the style of an American sitcom from the 80s starring Kang and Kodos. They're cooking up the Simpsons family in hopes of feeding them to their boss. After filling him up, Bart bursts out of his stomach, so Kang and Kodos adopt him. What? I've seen some odd intros during this series, but this one takes the cake. It's not bad, I just don't think it really fits in with the theme. Still, we do get Kang and Kodos, so that's something. A clear parody of the Ned Zone, this segment follows Ned after he gets knocked out by Homer's bowling ball. At the hospital, it is revealed that he had an undiscovered brain tumour that was knocked out of his head by the bowling ball. However, Ned starts getting visions of people's deaths when coming into contact with them, with his visions coming true moments later. If things weren't freaky enough, they get even worse when he has visions of Homer's death. This is a really fun and engaging segment. The concept is strong, and thankfully the writers took full advantage of the possibilities. It lacks any kind of scares, like at all, but it makes up for that with its humour. This is the first time I've watched this segment in a long time, and I forgot how funny it is. I had genuine bursts of laughter throughout watching this. I love Ned's premonitions too. The music score, the zoom effect, and the animation style are all wonderful. The premonitions themselves are great too, ranging from violent to hilarious.
Well, I didn't need any special power to know that was coming.
Chief Wiggum's incompetence also makes an appearance for the segment's benefit. Upon hearing Ned's vision of his death, Homer tempts fate, egging Ned on to kill him. Ned manages to escape fate by throwing away the gun, only to then realise he is doomed Springfield. He tries to warn Homer, but thanks to a dodgy microphone signal, he accidentally tells him to blow up the town. With Springfield's fate in the balance, Ned must make his first vision come true by killing Homer. However, fate just likes to play dirty sometimes.
Oh, you stupid son of a...
This scene is incredible, by the way. Not only is it funny with some great self-aware humour, but it's also extremely tense. Homer staggering around after being shot puts you on the edge of your seat. And seeing Ned snap right before the explosion is gold. It's nice to see that side of Ned show through once in a while. The end scene in heaven does fall flat, I'll admit, and it is a weak ending to an otherwise brilliant segment. Still, the Ned Zone gets a strong 8 out of 10. It's devilishly funny with some great animation and music, as well as some genuinely tense moments. Four Headings and a Funeral is based on the graphic novel From Hell, which in itself is a fictionalised version of the Jack the Ripper murders. It also takes some inspiration from Sherlock Holmes, with Lisa and Bart clearly being based on Holmes and Watson respectively. In 1890s London, women are being killed by someone only known as the Mutton Chop Murderer. The police are stumped, of course, so it's up to Eliza Simpson and Dr. Bartley to find out who the culprit is. I'm not going to prevaricate about the bush here. I should love this segment. One of my hobbies is studying true crime, and there aren't many cases that are as infamous as Jack the Ripper. I'm also a fan of crime fiction, and Sherlock Holmes is one of my favourite fictional detectives. Blend it all together with The Simpsons, and surely you have a real winner on your hands. But unfortunately, it does suffer from some issues. I'm not saying it's bad though, because there are certainly bits to enjoy. Seeing the Simpsons characters in 1890s London is intriguing, and it's nice to see how they are all portrayed at the time. Comic Book Guy, for example, is an oddities merchant, whilst Moe's is now an opium den. And hearing most of the Simpsons characters using bad Cockney accents and using British slang terms is a good laugh and memorable.
And I sees this real strange bloke. Out of sorts, mad in the eyes, all kettles and biscuits.
Right.
Well, he seen I was looking at him.
Seeing Mr. Burns as an opium addict sadly doesn't live up to its potential though. The atmosphere is wonderful throughout, as is the animation. The fog effect adds some mystery, and London itself looks beautiful. The murders are also a highlight, even if the investigation isn't all that interesting. Sadly though, it's not perfect, and it does have several teething issues. First of all, their mocking British cuisine is disgraceful. We have fish and chips and roast dinners. America has spray cheese and meat pumped with sugar. Get in the bin, you have no right to complain. Second of all, the third act is very weak. Homer, or a 19th century version of him, gets framed for the murders. Eliza and Bartley discover a fresh body after his arrest and arrive just in the nick of time before his execution. We then learn that Chief Wiggum was the culprit all along. Gee, what a twist. Couldn't they think of, well, anything better than that? The high-ranking police officer being corrupt has been done to death. This just felt lazy. What's even lazier is his motive. He wanted to create a crime that even Eliza couldn't solve. Sweet Jiminy fecking cricket, that's a shit motive. It's like they had 5 minutes before their deadline, so they just threw together this shit conclusion and called it a day. Oh, but it gets worse. Wiggum tries to escape via a hot air balloon, but it gets burst by Kang and Kodos flying a steampunk UFO. After they think Earth's entire fleet has been defeated, Ralph then wakes up, revealing the entire segment was an opium dream. Sweet fucking Christ. They went to the lowest you could possibly go and made it all a dream? At least with Nightmare Cafeteria they made up for it with the gruesome imagery of the Simpsons being turned inside out by a weird fog. But this went nowhere. What a crap end to a segment that had such potential. 4 Beheadings and a Funeral gets a 6 out of 10 for that awful third act. It was well animated, funny at points, and a nice Simpsons rendition of the source material, but that lazy ass third act really killed it quick. A parody of the 1966 film Fantastic Voyage, in the belly of the boss sees Maggie jumping into Professor Frink's giant pill thinking it's a bull pit. Frink then shrinks the pill and Mr. Burns takes it, after which they discover Maggie is missing and that they can hear her pacifier from inside Mr. Burns. So they get shrunk down to microscopic size and go on a voyage inside Mr. Burns to save Maggie. I'm a bit mixed on this segment as well. On the one hand, the idea of voyaging through Mr. Burns' body is a fun concept. Seeing Homer causing a blunder after blunder is pretty funny. He gets them lodged in Mr. Burns' heart and even eats some of his ribs. But I feel the voyage to Maggie ends way too quickly. It's only just started before it's over. I get they are pressed for time, but had they focused more time on the expedition and less time on the build-up, I think the segment could have benefited. I'd like to see more of the Simpsons causing chaos to Burns' body. Speaking of Burns, he again isn't his usual gold self here, although he does have this moment which is rather funny.
Well, that hurt like hell.
The ending is also pretty meh. Seriously, all 3 segments have a weak end to them. Why? Is there a reason for it? Were the writers only paid for the first 2 acts or something? Upon rescuing Maggie, it turns out the combined weight of the Simpson family is too heavy to take off. Gee, maybe you should have thought of that, hey Professor? What's annoying is, it's not even used as a joke. They could have said, that's what you get for eating those 2 ribs, Homer. Instead it just comes across as an issue they should have known about. Homer then expands inside Burns' body, and I get some serious flashbacks to Treehouse 2. Then we see the Simpsons and Burns out for dinner, where Burns and Homer break into song and dance. Then other characters and guises from different points in the episode join in. It's a nice ending to the episode as a whole, but it does feel a bit out of place in the segment. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. We got some good, funny moments in there, but it didn't deliver on all aspects. I feel just a bit more time could have been dedicated to the voyage. This is where the writers started getting lazy with the Treehouse installments. Before this, they either took inspiration from an already existing material and changed it enough to make it its own thing, or they would come up with a completely original idea to craft as something funny and memorable. Here, however, and from this point onwards, they focus more and more on parodying pre-existing films or pop culture references without differentiating themselves far enough from the source material, and it shows. Still, the Ned Zone is a good segment and the other 2 are indeed watchable, but it's a bit of a slippery slope from here. I'm giving Treehouse of Horror 15 a 7 out of 10. It's a solid installment with some interesting ideas and watchable segments, but I feel it could have been executed slightly better. And that's it for this review and this video. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm an eel short of an eel pie? What do you think of Treehouse of Horror 15? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.